I want to try a little foliage right now. So I'm going to use a number 8 filbert brush. And you want to dip that in water and then blot it on a paper towel before you load up your paint. And I'm going to be using some thicket, some white, a little bit of gray, and I want floating medium. The fillers should be really, really light. You want it to be thinned down, the paint. So I'm just going to work some floating medium in my brush first before I pick up any color. Then I can load a little bit of color in this little pile of floating medium. You can see how thin it is. That's what you want. You want it transparent looking, so that whenever I go over here to my canvas and I want to add a little bit of foliage, you can put your stems in, and you're going to be basically just tipping and highlighting. Flop, 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 working the brush back and forth. This is real random strokes, and it's actually kind of messy, but that's what you want. You don't want anything real so-so. And then while I'm working that color out, you want to soften it the further it goes out. I can pick up a little bit of floating medium, work that in to the canvas, and then come back with some more color and just crisscross some of that color back in on the canvas. Now I'm on paper right now, and that paper just, it absorbs everything really fast. You don't have too much time to blend before it just sticks. If you get an area too dark, you can come back over with a little bit of white. I just added a little white in that area. But the whole idea of adding some fillers right around your roses, which if we had a rose around that area, is just to put some color right around your rose without adding thick paint. You want to stay away from the thick paint, because if you're doing your petals transparent, let's say that's going to be our petal right over here, and let's say that's going to be the rose. I'll just sketch a little rose in here. That's a petal. This will be a petal. This will be a petal. All of that's going to be petal. So then and all I'm doing is working in some greens, some medium gray, and I'm just literally crisscrossing these strokes, flopping strokes around, bringing little lines. I'm at an angle to where I can't get a real good line on this. I'm sitting off to the side here, and it makes it difficult. Now if you add any kind of leaves to it, you can put your leaf in like this. You want your leaves to be really, really transparent. You don't want them and you can certainly do some leaves that are real transparent, and you can do your little ruffle leaves, as long as they're transparent enough to where they're just not gonna show up very much. It's just a suggestion of foliage around your rose. So it's pretty much just getting messy with it. And then you can wipe your brush off on a paper towel if you get too much paint on there. But while it's wet, just walk your color out. Oops, I got off the camera there. And walking color out means that if I start here with some color and I walk it up, that's walking your color out, because the higher you go, the softer it will get. And I'm just flip-flopping this brush around. I'm not doing any real distinct strokes with it. And I like the roundness of this because then it gives me these little fillers right here that I can do. That I might not get when I do a flat brush. So this one has a really sharp point, but I'm at an angle and I can't get a really nice line with this unless I'm this way, straight on the chisel, and I can't get on the chisel because I'm off to the side here so the camera can pick it up. Now if you want to add a little bit deeper tone, you can come in here and re-add different tones. Now make sure the area is dry. Oops, I'm off camera. Because if it's not dry, it will pick up the bottom layer and you'll go right down to the bare canvas. That's hard to recoup that color off of that canvas. Now see, I'm coming back in here with a little deeper tone. So the rule of thumb here is to put your filler in really, really light. Then come back and you can add some deeper tones if you want more foliage. So it looks like this is in the back now and this is coming forward. But you have to start out really, really light, because once you do dark, you can't get rid of it. Unless you want to start over and paint the whole canvas over again white. I don't think anybody wants to do that. Now, the whole idea of painting this foliage around your flower and painting it soft is so that when we do a petal, I like to paint these petals to where they're transparent on the edges. And if I have a hard edge, meaning, let's say I went right up there with that hard edge. See that edge right here? That's called a hard edge. It's not softened or anything. If I came back and I tried to do a transparent petal and pull in some strokes, that hard edge would show. It'd show right through your petal, and I don't want it to show through the petal because I'm wanting to do it transparent. Now see, that's already set up. Sometimes you can scrub it if you catch it fast enough with just some water. Of course, this is on paper. You can soften that edge. Now it's okay if you want to do a darker color, just make sure you don't have any real hard edges right there next to those outside petals of your rose. See, that's a hard edge there. That's what you're trying to avoid. And we will put other leaves on here that are deeper in value once we get all the really light colored fillers in. Then we'll do our roses. Then we will come, because we want the petals transparent, then we'll come back and sneak in some of these darker leaves underneath the rose petals, but it allows the rose petals to still look transparent. And that's why we do it this way. Okay, that looks good to me, just for doing a soft look on the roses. Okay, now we're going to start painting, finally. And what I have on my palette is a pile of floating medium, greenscape, and thicket. I'm using a 12 Donna Dewberry one-stroke brush. I make a pile of floating medium, and then I touch my brush into the greenscape, and I mix it into the floating medium and load it on my brush. I start applying the color in between the roses. You don't want to get any of this color on your petals, so stay along the outside edge of all of your roses and walk your color out into the open areas of your foliage, all the way around on your roses. Just be sure that this color is really light, really thin, almost a transparent to where you can see through it. And you're just creating flip-flop strokes. And it's the same method that I showed you in the first video clip. That's what you're doing on your canvas. So continue going on around your canvas and painting this on. And then once we get the filler in, then we can go ahead and start painting our roses. But just take your time. It's better to paint it lighter first, and you can always come back and darken up a few areas. But just make sure that it's really, really light color right next to those petal edges, so that we won't have any kind of a hard edge whenever we paint our roses in the next step. So continue on until the end of this video. Okay, everyone, try to get your canvas painted up until this point that we have right here so that part 4 we can start painting our roses. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you then.